When a man makes the choice to walk away from a relationship, it's not just an action, it's a statement that ripples through every layer of the emotional and psychological fabric of both his life and the woman's life. This seemingly simple act of stepping back from a relationship is a highly charged emotional decision, one that redefines the entire dynamic and creates an irreversible shift in how both individuals interact with each other and with themselves. Walking away isn't just about distancing oneself physically, it's about a profound emotional withdrawal, and it has a much deeper impact than most realize. For the man, the act of walking away is often driven by a sense of emotional necessity. He may feel unappreciated, neglected, or emotionally drained by the relationship, or perhaps the sense of unfulfilled potential becomes overwhelming. The decision to walk away might arise from years of internalizing frustrations, or the realization that his needs and boundaries have been compromised. The decision is often fueled by the necessity to regain control over his own life, his time, his energy, and his emotional state. When a man decides to pull away, it's rarely impulsive. It's a culmination of unspoken needs, repressed emotions, and growing dissatisfaction. However, the emotional journey is much more complicated for the woman involved. When a man walks away, it's not just a personal loss. It's a psychological shockwave that shakes the very core of her identity, the narrative she has built around the relationship, and the sense of security she felt when he was by her side. At first, there is often a wave of disbelief. She might not immediately accept the reality of the situation. In many cases, denial sets in, as she may think it's temporary, just another phase, or that he's simply trying to provoke her into action. Women are often wired to seek connection, to nurture relationships, and to seek validation, and the sudden absence of her partner can feel like an emotional wound she wasn't prepared for. Her sense of identity may feel threatened, as women often derive a sense of self-worth from their relationships and the way they are perceived in the eyes of others, particularly in romantic connections. A man walking away can make her question whether she is still desirable, whether she was enough, or whether she is losing her value in his eyes. Her emotional state fluctuates between confusion, anger, fear, and self-reflection. She may even begin to blame herself, wondering if she did something wrong or if there was something inherently lacking in her approach to the relationship. The emotional aftermath for her doesn't stop at mere sadness. As time progresses, she may experience a sense of powerlessness. For the first time, she faces the painful reality that her attempts to control the relationship, to influence his actions, or to guide his emotions no longer have the desired effect. The feeling of being rejected or left behind is foreign and unsettling. It often sets off a cycle of emotional turmoil, where she wrestles with the questions: why did he leave me? Was I not enough for him? What did I do wrong? But the consequences of walking away go far deeper. The act of withdrawing forces a dramatic shift in the balance of emotional power. When a man walks away, he takes with him something much more valuable than just his physical presence. He takes away his energy, his attention, and his validation. Women, like all people, often seek external validation to feel worthy, desired, and important. The moment a man withdraws, it's as if the emotional fuel that powered her sense of self-esteem is suddenly cut off. Without the reassurance of his presence, she may feel lost, disoriented, and unsure of her emotional footing. His absence leaves her with a massive gap that she must now attempt to fill. But the question becomes, how does one fill the void left by someone who once was her emotional anchor? This dramatic shift in emotional energy creates an identity crisis. The woman may find herself looking inward, questioning her choices, her worth, and how much of her identity was tied to the man she just lost. This internal struggle often leads to self-doubt, followed by attempts to rationalize the situation. She may start rewriting the narrative of the relationship, trying to convince herself that she was the one who made the right decision, or that the man wasn't good enough for her to begin with. But deep down, she knows the truth. She is now facing the reality of a man who no longer seeks her attention, no longer chases after her, and no longer allows her to control the emotional dynamic between them. This emotional roller coaster leads to a critical moment in the woman's journey's self-reflection. With the absence of the man's influence, she is forced to face emotions she might have kept buried for a long time. The feelings of abandonment trigger her to look inward, questioning her role in the relationship. Did she take him for granted? Did she dismiss his feelings? Did she become too complacent, expecting his affection to be guaranteed? As she begins to examine herself, the truth she might not want to face becomes clear. She was taking the relationship for granted, and now she has to confront the emptiness left in its wake. For both the man and the woman, the emotional and psychological consequences of walking away aren't just short-term reactions. They shape how they will engage in future relationships and how they will view themselves. For the man, it is an assertion of self-respect and a willingness to walk away from anything that doesn't contribute to his emotional growth or well-being. For the woman, it is a journey into vulnerability and self-discovery, but also a painful realization that the game of emotional control has shifted. Her perception of relationships, power dynamics, and her own desires are now in flux, and she must adapt to a new reality. The ripple effect of a man walking away extends far beyond the immediate separation. It has long-lasting implications for the dynamics of their emotional connection and the understanding of self-worth. It forces both individuals to rethink their approach to love, affection, and what it means to truly be valued. For the woman, it becomes not just about winning him back, but about rediscovering her own strength, self-worth, and identity apart from the man. It challenges her to look within and determine if she can find the validation she seeks from within, rather than relying on another person's presence to define her value. Phase 1. Shock and denial. The illusion cracks. When a man decides to walk away, the initial reaction of the woman is typically one of shock and denial. For most women, the concept of a man walking away is an alien experience. Women are often accustomed to receiving attention, affection, and admiration. From a young age, many women are socialized to expect to be pursued, valued, and cherished. Being chased is often seen as a symbol of validation. Therefore, when a man suddenly stops chasing, it feels like an emotional earthquake. The foundation of her reality begins to shake, and she is thrown into a state of disbelief. Imagine a woman who has been receiving constant validation from her partner. He's always available, attentive, and actively seeks her out. Whether through thoughtful texts, surprise dates, or showing interest in her life, he consistently keeps the relationship at the forefront. She feels secure in the knowledge that he is deeply invested in her. Now, suddenly, his responses become infrequent, and his presence starts to diminish. The texts go unanswered for hours, and the dates aren't as frequent. At first, she might tell herself, he's just busy with work, or maybe he's going through something personal. He'll come around. In her mind, this is just a temporary phase, a blip in an otherwise steady connection. But as the days pass and the distance between them grows, the truth begins to sink in, although she may fight it. This phase of disbelief is often a defense mechanism, a way of protecting her ego and keeping her self-esteem intact. To admit that he might have truly lost interest would be to admit vulnerability, and that is a place she isn't ready to go. So, she clings to the illusion that things are just fine, that this is temporary, and that he will eventually return to the version of the relationship she was accustomed to. She might deny it at first, but the truth is, her world just shifted, and she's feeling it. At this stage, she might attempt to convince herself that it's all a misunderstanding, a natural ebb and flow of a relationship, or that he's merely going through a rough patch. The sudden change in behavior is a jarring experience, one that she is not prepared for. In her mind, she's been in control. She's used to being the one who dictates the pace, the tone, and the direction of the relationship.